Trish Regan, welcome everyone to the Intelligence Report. Joining me right now with a reaction to all of it, the author of The Upside of Inequality, Ed Conard, Fox News contributor and member of Trump's Hispanic Advisory Committee, Steve Cortes, former chairman of the D.C. DNC, Scott Bolden. Good to have all of you, along with Cato Institute's Dan Mitchell. As we watch a market right now that's off 38 points, you can see we've turned negative on the day, but still hanging in there. Good jobs numbers. We'll hope that they hold through Friday, of course, with the government's jobs report. But let me talk a little bit about the health care issue, because we're watching healthcare stocks pretty carefully here. This administration wants to get something through. Donald Trump ran on repeal and replace. Healthcare companies seem to like this idea as well. Obamacare has been very challenging for them, with a number of them just sort of saying, forget it, we can't handle this. Ed, what's your thought on whether or not this is going to get anywhere? Because you get a lot of people saying it's DOA.
Well, I think passing legislation is always complicated, but I think this is a chance for President Trump to deliver on his promise. I think some people want more cuts than what's in the House leadership bill. Some people want less. I think this is a logical compromise, and I think that when they're faced with the choice of continuing with Obamacare or choosing this, which cuts taxes $600 billion over the next 10 years and cuts spending as well, they're going to pick this at when push comes to shove.
In other words, it's one or the other, and it can't be perfect for everyone. Dan Mitchell, you get the likes of Rand Paul out there saying this is no good, and then you have Republicans, for example, the senator from Alaska, that are also saying it's no good, but for very, very different reasons. She's worried about people that are currently on Medicaid getting cut. He, on the other hand, is saying this is just one big more entitlement, gravy train thing we're going to have to deal with. So which is it in your view?
Republicans are in the very difficult position of trying to put toothpaste back in a tube, and they're trying to do that when they have only 52 senators and they can't afford to lose more than 3 of them. And so is it nearly as far as we at Cato would like the Republicans to go in terms of trying to restore some semblance of a free market and a very heavily government-controlled industry? No, of course not, but I feel sorry for them, because once you lure people onto the heroin of government dependency, it's very, very difficult to take those goodies away.
Okay, so you're saying though it's not perfect and though you'd want a little more here, you're still willing to take it?
Well,
Something's better than nothing?
I would love a lot more, is what I'm saying. But I understand why Republicans put together such a timid compromise.
All right, let me talk about some of the good things in here. Steve Cortes, one of the goals here is to put some kind of market discipline back into the healthcare industry, which really effectively has none right now. Does this accomplish that?
Trish, I think it does. Choice and competition. We know those work in the economy at large. We know that it can work when it comes to insurance. And I agree, by the way, with Cato. I think, this is far from perfect, but let's not make the perfect the enemy of the good. And the good is, the must is that we have to repeal and replace. And by the way, you mentioned that the president ran on this promise. So did the Congress and the American people. It's almost baseball season. To use a baseball analogy, the American people loaded the bases for the Republicans, gave them both houses, gave them the White House. They gave them loaded bases and no outs. We have to score. We have to deliver on this promise, and I think the president's going to do that.
I anticipated that we actually might see more disagreement amongst you all. I'm going to have to go to the Democrat for that.
I'm here,
Scott,
and I'm ready.
What are you going to do? I mean, if you actually start to see conservatives, coalesce around this thing, where does that leave you?
It leaves me on the side of the conservatives who are opposing the bill, as ironic as that is. My goodness gracious. Listen, the Republicans, after 8 years, have just struck out with this thing. They've just struck out. They can't get on the same page, and the problem is because you've got 35 governorships up, you've got midterms coming up, and this bill cuts Medicaid, it limits Medicaid expansion, it's going to make it more expensive, and while you do have the choice and you keep the good stuff in the Obamacare plan, the problem is it's simply not enough for the ideologues and the conservatives to go far enough, and the Democrats are going to hang it around the neck of the Republicans in midterms like the weight it is. This will not work, and even the biggest supporters of the Republicans are coming out against it, like the doctors. It won't work.
Well, why do you think that is, Ed? That the doctors are coming out against it?
Well, because I think that Obamacare had high-quality insurance for people that couldn't afford it and wouldn't buy it on their own. That increases demand for medical services, and the doctors are going to like that.
So, in their interest economically,
you've got AARP as well against it.
To be for Obamacare, but in this particular case, it's basically what, providing a safety gap kind of measure for people that are lower on the income scale that need some kind of insurance.
That's right. It's providing a safety net and not any luxury over the safety net. They're trying not to use health care as a way to redistribute income.
Yeah, go ahead. Last word to you. Unfortunately, I'm cut short on time, thanks to Mr. Spicer. Go ahead.
those same working class people or poor people aren't going to be able to afford it. They're going to be thrown off those rolls because they've reduced the tax credits and raised the premiums.
Right.
And it's not
the
workable.
goal here, right, is to make sure that if someone goes into the emergency room, they have some catastrophic thing happen to them or they get a horrible disease, they're able to then have some kind of insurance so it's not costing the rest of society. So this may be the kind of compromise you need here where not everybody's going to get the premium Cadillac plan. By the way, they're not getting rid of the Cadillac tax on this. But it's something, and maybe that's the stopgap you need. I got to leave it there. Ed, Steve, Dan, Scott, thank you.
Thank you very much.